Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
The sun is setting on another era of Apex Online Racing as we prepare for the final race of the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on F1 2018 before we welcome F1 2019 later this week. Although some of you lucky guys and girls out there have already got a copy of the game, unlike myself who have to wait until the Legends release on the 25th at midnight, although I probably won't get much chance to play it as I'm away for a few days. But here we are then, Interlagos, a classic circuit. I mean, I don't really know anyone who doesn't enjoy racing here. The very close nature of the short lap keeps everyone nice and close throughout the 36 laps we will have here, followed before that by our usual 18-minute qualifying session. So let's have a quick look at the Interlagos circuit then. We've been racing here a long time in various forms, since the 1970s. Various changes to track, but this is the modern circuit. The 4.3 kilometer circuit here at Interlagos features 15 corners and 2 DRS zones between these. The Center S and Turn 4, that will be one of the main overtaking areas. And of course, the Exo Juncal, the most important corner on the track. If you get that wrong, you're going to be so vulnerable down that long roller coaster-like ride from turns 12 all the way down to the first corner. And well, it looks like we have slightly more drivers in the race today, so that is good to see. A warm welcome to those in the chat. As I commented on earlier, big thank you to everyone who's watched all the streams during the F1 2018 era. Without you and your considerable support, the channel would not be what it is. And we look forward to seeing you for all the racing action on F1 2019. Well then, let's remind ourselves then of the championship standings. Well, both championships are now settled. Dominic Hoffman's 5th win of the season at Suzuka last week, sealing his championship crown for season 17, giving him an unassailable advantage at the top. A 59-point advantage then to his teammate Jarno Opma. And it's a battle for the runners-up spot. That's going to be the main point of interest in the drivers' table today, as Jarno has a 2-point advantage to Lucas Blakely, with 127 and 125 respectively. And Michael, well, the now former champion, will be looking to end the season with his first win of the season, and also to ensure he seals off that 4th place. And after having that 5-second penalty removed, Deagle Killer is more or less safe in 5th. And Casper, well, one of the 4 drivers who have scored points in every single race this season, has really been the best of the rest with a very impressive campaign, with point scores in 9 races in a row. And there's been various moves in the table, but nothing too excited really outside of that. And then the constructors standings. Well, it is the yellow and black attack of the Renault drivers that has been so strong throughout the season, from the very beginning in fact, as they had back-to-back 1-2s to start the season. And just to give you an idea of how dominant they've been, they actually have more points after 9 races, even before doing this final round, than the team that finished 3rd in the Constructors last season managed after 21 races. That just shows you how strong they have been from the very first round in Australia. And in terms of the rest of the table, well, Williams have already sealed the runners-up spot. So a decent campaign for the 2 Williams esports drivers, Michael and Roy. And then going further down, well, McLaren and Haas, there is a possibility of a small battle there, but unlikely to be any changes there. So really the main point of interest in the table will be the battle for 5th, and then the battle between Red Bull, Toro Rosso and Force India to avoid the dreaded wooden spoon. And with only one Force India driver out there, he's certainly got some work to do to ensure the team now known as Racing Point get off the foot of the table before we head to a new era of Apex Online Racing. Well, that's enough of that. Let's go and take a look at the qualifying action here at Interlagos. So let's get this all switched up, and then we can have a look at it all, seeing what's going on. At the moment we are on board with Lee Finley in the Haas machine as he heads into the end of Sector 1. Now Lee Finley, he's had an interesting campaign, shall we say. You know, he had a pretty decent start to the season, a few point scores in a row. Last week, unfortunately, he disconnected, which would have, I mean, given the amount of drivers we had last week, we've got slightly more this week. 12 drivers, but yeah, still fairly low turnout, so good chance for everyone to score some points here today. So will Tyrrell Schnitzel do his teammate a favour to ensure a lockout of the top 2 positions in the championship? As Jarno heads for the line for what is his banker lap, a 106.818. Now in terms of the pole position time here today at Interlagos, we're looking at low 106s for those on the super soft compounds, and then in terms of the softs, we'll be looking at sort of, you know, mid to high 106s. So the fastest soft time at the moment, a 107.267 by VGIA Lucas in P4. Hugh Gold moving up to 5th with a 107.447. So let's just have a quick look at Tyrrell Schnitzel, the now newly crowned Apex Online Racing F1 champion on PS4. I mean, what a campaign he's had. I mean, from the word go, he looked like a re-energized, refocused driver, having sort of, you know, left the league in season 16 halfway through, bereft of confidence, but he's come back with an absolute vengeance, seeding the championship, more wins than anyone else. He's only been off the podium once this season, and that was at Austria, and that was still a 5th place finish, so he hasn't finished lower than 5th the entire campaign. And, you know, having had a little bit of a wobble in the middle of the season, where Lucas in particular got very close to him, second half of the campaign has been magnificent from the Renault driver, as both Renaults returned to the pit lane. So let's see who else out there. What about Alex? Alex, the veteran and of course a former champion of this tier, I believe. So he's missed the last few races, but he is back today. Only 1 point score this season, and that was back at Italy. So he's got 2 points to his name in the table. Given the low amount of drivers we have here today, there is a high possibility he can get his best result of the season if things go right for him. But he's returned to the pit, so most of the drivers have already done their banker laps. What about Casper? Casper is out there as he heads towards Junkau, which is, as I mentioned earlier, the most important corner on the track, because this leads to the longest DRS section of that completely flat out sector 3. And he returns to the pit, so not much activity on track at the moment, most of them just getting a feel for the circuit. So let's give Hugh Golf a little bit of TV time in the Alfa Romeo Sauber, which of course will be purely Alfa Romeo on the F1 2019 game. So for those of you in the comments section who are watching this qualifying session at the moment, as we gear up for 36 laps of Interlagos, well, those of you who have the game, what do you think of it? And those of you who haven't, you know, what are you looking forward to? You know, let me know what you're going to try first. You're going to, you know, do a bit of career, a bit of online with those customized multiplayer cars, maybe a bit of F2. I mean, certainly for me, I'm going to do some F2. I mean, there's no full season of F2 in career, but I'm going to do a full season offline on the GP mode, so I'm really looking forward to that. And hopefully I don't drive as badly as Ragu Nathan, who got banned after this weekend's French F2 races. And what I am hoping, of course, is that the race, I'm fairly confident it's going to be much more entertaining than what we got in F1 French Grand Prix today. And certainly if there's a really good battle between 4 cars for P7, I'm not going to suddenly switch to a battle that's not really happening. So rest assured, I will try and be a better director than they were. So here comes Kieski, heading towards the line. This is a time on the softs. I'm sure it's going to threaten the fastest soft times at the moment. Let's just have a look, and yeah, it's the 4th slowest time on the softs. Lucas leading the way on that. Lucas actually back out on the track. He's going to be on the super softs now. So as is the case at a lot of the tracks on this game, which use the super soft compound instead of the ultra softs or hyper softs, you know, the super soft is a viable qualifying tyre to use. You know, the one stop's still possible as long as you can stretch out the super softs in the opening stint. You know, the one stop should be the expected strategy here, I mean, although it's a fairly short pit lane, it's not really much to be gained by doing a 2-stop, especially now, you know, they've raced on these tracks all before. And getting some reports from our friendly neighbourhood weatherman Casper that we are going to have a light rain start here at Interlagos. Of course, Interlagos infamous for its unpredictable weather in the same manner that Malaysia was, and you know, Spa at Belgium. And you know, rain at Interlagos, not a big surprise. And so if we get a light rain start, who's going to take full advantage of that? I mean, certainly last week we had our first wet race of the season in Japan, and Tiro Schnitzel was overwhelmingly the fastest driver there. You know, lapping like a second a lap faster than those behind him, except for his teammate. You know, Vijay Lucas, you know, of this F1 2018 era, he's been a real star at times, particularly in qualifying, with some stunning banzai laps to take multiple pole positions. And you know, he's been, you know, consistently in both seasons a title challenger. It's just at times the luck hasn't really gone his way. But here comes Lucas looking to end the era with a pole time. It's just, and I mean just, off Jarno's time. As we look at the gaps, so just over 2/10. I feel like Lucas can find a little bit more on those tyres. Just trying to see what the pole time was for last season, actually. As Jarno continues on his way, and I think he's on an in lap. So Schnitzel still in the pits. What about Stay Frosty? Well, Stay Frosty, he's been sort of creeping his way up the table recently, hasn't he? A few decent point scores. He's moved up to, you know, 7th place for Sauber in the standings, and 38 points with a 5-point advantage to Damien NG and Lee Penny. Danny MG not here, of course, so he's guaranteed probably at least a top 7 finish in the championship, unless something truly remarkable happens. So, you know, so for Stay Frosty, you know, he missed 2 races as well. So that's a fairly solid campaign. It's one of the leading lights of the best of the rest outside the, you know, the top 5 who have, you know, got the lion's share of the podiums this season. So Lucas returns to the pits as well. Anyone else there? What about Roy? Roy, who had a 5-second penalty, which was removed, allowing him to get back onto the podium again. His 3rd podium in a row, finishing the season very strongly for Williams. And as we've seen multiple times in recent races, the Williams drivers showing great teamwork once again, trying to get a little bit of a tow, and that's a pretty decent tow as long as they don't get in each other's way. So what's Roy going to do? He heads for the line. It's only P5. Almost think they got a bit bogged down trying to get that tow going, a little bit too close to each other, and that sort of compromised the line that he was taking towards the end of the lap. And that means he's only good enough, nearly half a second behind Jarno's 106.504. Tyrrell Schnitzel, the new champion, just emerging onto the pits just behind the Williams driver. Now what about Michael? Michael yet to set a time. The season 16 champion. Not finding life quite as easy to come by for results this season. He still has 5 podiums, including a run between Germany and Italy of 3 second places in a row. I mean, in particular, Belgium, it was only his teammate that denied him a victory. But I think Michael will be, you know, he'll be looking to end the F1 2018 era on a high with another win, because, you know, he was so regularly on the top step last season in the longer format that he would probably admit suited him better than the shorter format has. As Michael heads for the line, and what's it going to be for Michael? Crosses the line, it's only a 106.898, so that's only good enough for P5. I say only, I wouldn't get anywhere near these times if I was out there on track right now. I'd probably be legitimately 3 seconds behind the pace, as Casper is right now. Of course, Casper's not really put a representative lap in so far. This is Casper now heading into turn 4. We'll see plenty of side-by-side action during this race, and then of course the run up onto Ferrado. So this looks like a lap in anger for Casper. I want to see what Schnitzel's up to in a bit. So we'll carry on with Casper for a few more corners, and then we'll see what Schnitzel is doing, because Schnitzel, of course, given his status as the new champion, is certainly going to be in the running for the pole here. He's got his teammate to beat. Schnitzel heads for the line. I think he's, and there you go. Perfect timing on my part to switch to that. 106.414 for Schnitzel. So that is provisional pole for the new champion as Casper pulls back into the pits again. Kieski is on a lap as well, looking to improve. Maybe an in-lap actually on this set of tyres. So at the moment it is a Renault lockout, a familiar position with Lucas, their closest challenger. We've seen this so many times this season. Those three in particular scored so many results between them. So Lucas come back onto pits. Just over 4 minutes of the session to go. Very short lap here, this 4.3 kilometre circuit. So although we've only got 12 drivers, as long as they don't have any disasters on the opening laps, I'm expecting a very close fight between all of those in top 5 in championship, who once again showing their commitment all here again tonight, even with nothing to play for. So what I'm hoping is a spectacular exhibition race to end the F1 2018 era on this tier of Apex Online Racing. As Lucas then heads for to start another lap. So I think we're going to stick on board with Schnitzel because both the Renault drivers are in the pits, as are the two Williams drivers. So Lucas is the only one of the main protagonists for the pole position out there at the moment. So here we go then. A lap in anger. Through the centre rest as he goes. Trying, oh, snap of oversteer at the back, but gets it calmed down in the end. Accelerates out of there, up to top gear, and then going into the braking zone here at the Desira do Lego, and then into the Ferradura. Turns 5 and 6 to follow. And then one of the trickier braking zones. Sometimes you need a bit more front brake bias to get the car slowed down. But yeah, no, it looks nice and tidy from Lucas so far. Sometimes it's deceptive. You know, sometimes when it looks smooth, it's actually not that quick at the end of the lap. But Lucas then heading through the middle of Sector 2, then heading through the fantastic flat Magulo, which is one of the best corners on the track, and then into Juncal. So important to get a good exit out of here, as we'll see during the race. If you get a poor exit here, you're going to be so vulnerable in this completely flat out Sector 3. So here comes Lucas heading for the line. What's it going to be? Can he improve on his current P3 position? We've got yellows in Sector 2 for some reason. Lucas crosses the line, and it is an improvement, but it's not enough to knock off either of the Renault drivers. And, well, is he going to have enough time actually to get back to the pits? No, that could be actually his last run. So Lucas not able to knock off either of the Renault drivers. So the Renault drivers, well, they are not resting on their laurels. I think they want to basically have a clean sweep of everything. Both drivers top 2, drivers and constructors championship. That is what they're aiming for. So this could be a straight fight between Schnitzel and Jarno for the top step, although I still feel the likes of Michael and Roy have more time to come from them. Lucas certainly will not get another chance to set a lap time, so he'll be returning to the pit. So he may be vulnerable to dropping a few more places. So we'll focus on the battle between Schnitzel and Jarno. Jarno's going to be heading for the line first to start his lap, so we will carry on with him. Let's see what kind of sector time Jarno does for Sector 1. It's a straight fight between the two Renaults here for pole position here at Interlagos, unless one of the Williams drivers can do something about it. Jarno then heads 16.4 for Jarno. What about Schnitzel? Schnitzel's heading for the end of Sector 1. What's it going to be for him? It's a 16.5. So actually Jarno going quicker than his teammate at the moment as he heads through the middle of Sector 2. And actually it's a P5 for Lucas's teammate. Michael actually just pops up into P3. So Lucas, yes, is dropping positions, but let's carry on with Jarno, see what his sector time is. He's a 10th up on his teammate at the moment. Whether that's quicker than his actual previous best remains to be seen. At 16.4 through Sector 2. Well, that's surely not right. It takes a bit longer than 16 seconds to get through Sector 2, so that's obviously wrong. So here comes Jarno then, heading for the line, gets the DRS activated, and what's it going to be for Jarno? Jarno across the line, it's not good enough for pole. Just, and I mean just, off it. Schnitzel heads for the line. Can he improve on his time at all? And yes, he does. A 106.330. Can anyone else go any higher than that? What about Jim Roy? Roy is still in the middle of Sector 2, but it looks like a Renault lockout at the moment. And then Michael and Lucas on the second row. Roy, in terms of pace in this league, probably the only other driver who can snatch away that pole position. Impressive qualifying from Witches. Okay, and into the pits comes Roy. He's settled for P10. Alex is still out there. What about Casper? Casper still desperately trying to get a lap time of any representation. Still 3.3 off the pace. This looks like it's going to be much quicker than that. Casper heading for the line then. Casper goes P3. He's gone faster than the former champion Michael and Lucas. Well, that is a lap out of nowhere, and that is surely the star of qualifying there, given the expectation that the Renault drivers will be up there. But Casper with a storming lap to put it onto the second row. So I believe that's his best qualifying result of the season there for the Haas driver. So fantastic work from Casper. Is there anyone else out there? No, I think that is it for our session as the Renault drivers return to the garage. So very strong work then from the Renault drivers. And in terms of the tyre compound choices, which I didn't mention earlier, it is the super soft and medium compounds are available, and of course your intermediate and wet compounds. The intermediates, according to the weather, will be used for the start of the race, and then it will be heading towards a dry race later on. That is the predicted weather, but as we know from this game, sometimes the rain sticks around a lot longer, and in fact maybe we could even get that situation where it's raining but they're on dry tyres. So very treacherous conditions. And so we just look at the pit lane with the drivers returning, and then our qualifying session will be over here at Interlagos. 36 laps to come, but a really good evening so far for Renault. A lockout the front row. Well, it just goes from strength to strength for them. They'll be wishing this season isn't ending, because it's just result after result, but qualifying is only half the battle. So here is your qualifying result. Schnitzel taking pole position by just over a tenth of a second to his teammate Jan Opma. Then Casper in P3. The star of qualifying, surely, I think you'll agree. Michael in 4th, Lucas in 5th, Lee Finley in 6th, decent result. So Haas looking very strong here. And then the McLaren Reserve in P7, then Hugh Golf in P8, Stave Robertson in P9, and then Kieski in P10. Then outside the top 10, we have Alex and Williams Jim Roy. So Alex and Williams Jim Roy will be on the alternate strategy. So they'll be starting perhaps on the mediums or indeed the soft compound, making their one stop much easier than those starting on the super softs. But of course, that's all out the window, as I just remembered. It is indeed a wet start to the race, and there it is. Yeah, well, qualifying, bright sunshine, and then suddenly someone's pushed a button and we are getting an absolute downpour over into Lagos, which is not a particularly rare sight of this track given the unpredictable weather we get here. And a few umbrellas may be required on the grid as we wait to get the formation lap and then get underway for 36 laps of action here. But, just briefly as we wait, for the formation lap to be completed, as, now, nothing seems to be loading so far. But what I was going to say, since joining the commentary team for Apex Online Racing, I mean, I've seen some fabulous races, especially in Season 16. Some of the best racing I've ever seen on these games. And, oh yeah, well, actually, they are starting to load, so that's good. So they must have been taking a bit longer to get their wet setups set up, or at least a few modifications to their dry setups. And that may explain why the times were not as low as I expected. In terms of the dry times, we were expected probably a few tenths down from what Schnitzel and Jano otherwise would have done with their slightly different setup. Here we are then. Green light away for the formation lap. Is this full wets or is this intermediates? Let's see. It is intermediate conditions then. So as you can see from the tyre monitor, all intermediates. No one gambling on the soft tyres. Way too wet for that at the moment, but we will have dry running later on. So Schnitzel, well, if he can replicate the form he had at Japan, this is going to give him a big advantage. But, one of the other wet weather specialists in this league, Jano, will certainly be hoping his teammate doesn't scamper off in the distance. And last week at Japan, he had to battle his way past some cars before he could get, even in any sort of earshot of his teammate. This time, though, he'll be able to attack him from the start. And Casper, well, we know that generally speaking his race pace isn't as strong as the like of Michael and Lucas, and that's in the dry. So he may prove to be a bit of a buffer for the Renault drivers to get away from the rest of the field, but we shall see. Always very passionate crowds here at Brazil. Doesn't matter what the weather is, they'll be out in force to cheer on, although no local heroes for them to support. As the grid then begins to form up for the start of this AOR F1 Brazilian Grand Prix, the final race of season 17 and the final race of the F1 2018 era. It's a 12-strong grid, so it shouldn't take too long to get formed up. Tide temps will be dropping though for those at the front by the second, and that may make it a little bit tricky. Here we are then. The grid is formed then, and we're going to get a green flag to get going here. Hopefully get a decent camera view. Here we are then. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and we are underway at Interlagos. It's a solid start from both Renault drivers. Watch out for Michael on row 2. Into the first corner we go. Oh, they're slipping and sliding everywhere. Almost Jarno out braking himself, but getting it slowed down. Casper defending from Michael behind. Oh, and one of the McLarens, I think that's Widgets, having to take to the escape road. May have got a big warning for that, or a penalty, but nothing from race control at the moment. That may be under investigation. So the 2 Renaults heading into the end of Sector 1 for the first time. And then right behind him, Michael challenging Casper for P3. And Michael gets ahead into P3. And watch out for Lucas as well. So this freeway fight for the podium spot. Michael knows he had to get that move done quickly so he can then get after the 2 Renaults. And now Lucas looking for a move down the inside in the middle of Sector 2. And the 2 Renaults look so close up ahead. We'll have a look at the winners and losers in a little bit. The 2 Renaults so close up ahead, but Schnitzel maintains the lead ahead of Jarno, with Michael just behind, just over a second separating the top 3, and probably a little over 2 seconds separating the top 5. So as ever, very close up. Lee Finley has maintained his position in P6 for the time being. And Roy's actually made a great start from the back of the grid, up to P8 already. But let's go straight to the front. Let's have a look, see. Is Jarno making any impression on his teammate, or is Schnitzel beginning to get away already? Fastest lap of the race, although that's irrelevant, because obviously it's the first lap. And then just behind then, battle for P6. Widgets trying to go around the outside. Can he get the move done? Oh, there's not much room there. Lee Finley takes the racing line, as he has every right to, and kind of boxes Widgets off, not allowing him to get a move done. And then up ahead, Lucas maybe having half a think about a move. It looks like Casper is already dropping off the back of the top 3. So for Lucas's race, in terms of getting on the podium, maybe even winning this race, he's got to get past Casper as soon as he can, because based on the race pace we've seen this season, you would think Lucas is superior, at least in the dry, but in the wet, hasn't always had the best pace in the wet over the past 2 seasons. Right behind Lee Finley, also acting as a bit of a cork in the sister Haas, the likes of Widgets and Williams and Stay Frosty, but it's a very close field so far here at Interlagos. And look at that, Schnitzel, you can visibly see is starting to edge out just a little bit of a gap. Lucas looks onto the back of that Haas. Look at that, oh, Casper getting all out of shape. Sometimes getting out of Junkau is a bit like that. Schnitzel almost gets over a second. Now he has a second advantage to his teammate, so at the moment it's got the superior pace. And here comes Lucas with a dive to the inside into the first corner. That was last of the late breakers. A superb maneuver by Lucas, but Casper's going to try and come back at him. They're going to go side by side through the Curva do Sol, heading towards the end of Sector 1. Can Casper come back at Lucas at all? Almost side by side through the end of Sector 1. But Lucas, well, he caught Casper napping. I don't think Casper quite expected such a lunge, but to be fair, left the door open, and he was very fair to Lucas, leaving enough room for both of them. But in the end, a really well executed overtake, and Lucas will certainly have a little grin after getting that move done. And now he'll be looking to get after Michael, who incidentally, the former champion from last season, is actually now onto the back of Jarno. So Jarno is less worried really about catching his teammate at the moment, and more doing some defending from the season 16 champion. So your top 10: Schnitzel, Jarno, Michael, Lucas, Casper, Lee Finley, Widgets, Roy, Stay Frosty and Hugh Golf. But, you know, there are not any big gaps at the moment. So in terms of the field spread at the moment, it's less than 10 seconds covering the entire field. So that is how close it is at the moment. Let's go down to Williams Jim Roy, because he's looking very close to the back of the lowest ranked McLaren at the moment. And he could demote Widgers down to P8. Down the inside he goes. They'll be side by side through the centre S's. Oh, can they keep it touch? Oh, slightly forced wide, but Roy battles it out very toughly. But Widgers may be able to come back, and watch out for Stay Frosty, who may fancy a little bit of this action. So we get a superb rearing view of Widgers trying to come back round the outside. That's difficult enough in the dry, let alone in these conditions. But no, Lucas Widgers, I should say, not able to get back in front. And look out for Stay Frosty. He may think about a move in the following corner. He's very close to the back of the McLaren. Will the gap open up for him to go for a move for P8? No, he backs off for the time being. But Jarno's actually had a pretty good lap. He's now got back within 8/10 of his teammate Schnitzel, who was threatening to run away a little bit, but now has had a not quite as good a lap as his teammate. Now, once again, the top three are all within 2 seconds of each other. Lucas, having got past Casper, is now extending the gap to Casper, and now be attempting to get up to the rest of the top three. What could be an absolutely barnstorming final race here of the F1 2018 era on Apex Online Racing PS4 Tier 1 F1. Now, over the line, Lucas setting the pace then. The fastest lap of the race, 1:18.062. Is that a sign that the rain is starting to ease off, or is that the legitimate pace of the intermediates at the time being? Let's go back to the front then. Have a look at Jarno. Jarno then just over half a second now behind his teammate. So Schnitzel, Jarno, Michael, Lucas, 4 drivers who have contributed so much to this league over the past 2 seasons while I've been commentating. Once again at the forefront of our thoughts of this racing action. And, well, what a track and what a situation it is at the moment. Lucas actually, though, has dropped now 1.6 seconds. He was closing the gap to Michael. He's actually had a difficult opening sector on this particular lap. Now 1.5 seconds. And in fact, looking back at Casper, Casper's dropped a lot of time, and his teammate Lee Finley, if anything, is going quicker than Casper at the moment. So it's going to be a Casper the friendly ghost train before long, because the likes of Lee Finley, Roy, Widgers and Stay Frosty are all lapping faster than Casper at the moment. So we could see a lot of movement there, but we're going to carry on just for a few more moments for the top 3, and then I think I'll have a quick look at what's going on with the likes of Lee Finley and Jim Roy, who look very close to each other. Lucas sets the fast lap of the race, so he seems to be very strong in sector 3, because he seems to regain the time there. Let's go to Roy then, right on the back of Lee Finley. He's got 2 Hassers to get past to get back into the top 5 of this race. Right behind Widgers, getting all out of shape behind, and that's prevented him from doing any sort of challenge to the Williams driver. Nothing doing at the moment. Let's have a quick look at P12. Alex getting close to the back of the 14 of Kieski, but unable to pass. I think Kieski helped by the slipstream of the Sauber, a few Golf up ahead. But let's go back into the middle of the top 10. Williams Jim Roy then attempting to put the first of 2 Hasses under pressure, and that is Lee Finley. He's had a mixed bag of results this season, but at times has shown very outstanding racecraft to get some of these results, particularly early on the season. A 4th place at Austria being his particular highlight. But you know, Roy knows that if he makes any mistake trying to overtake Lee Finley, Widgers and Stay Frosty could be right on his gearbox. Is he able to get any closer? Jarno sets the fast lap, and we're into the 1:17 for the first time, and we're just getting a few patches of blue sky among the clouds, so I think that you can visibly see the rain is starting to ease off. And I think what Jarno's done really well is make sure his teammates not being able to get away. However, one of the critical things of this particular race, though, is especially when you've got a teammate, and here comes Roy trying to go down the inside. We'll get back to that point. Down the inside goes Roy. Can he get this move done on Lee Finley? Yes, he does. So more or less a repeat of the move he did to Widgers early on. So Roy making some very tidy progress so far, and unsurprisingly, he is the star man in terms of the winners and losers as far as positions are gained, as Stay Frosty picks up the first time penalty of the race, and must have run wide out of turn 6, because that's an unusual place to get a penalty in Sector 2. Usually Sector 1's quite a dangerous place. The chicane very easy to cut there, or run wide and pick up a warning there. Let's go back to the front. Jarno. Let's see what actually, before we do that, let's just see what Widgers is doing. Widgers looking very racy. It's Lee Finley looking slightly awkward there. Lucas is now within a second of Michael, so we're going to go on that top 4 battle momentarily, but we're going to get some action here. Widgers dives to the inside. He was demoted by Williams Roy earlier, but now he is back up to P7 where he started, so that is good. So Lee Finley has dropped 2 positions now. So in terms of the winners and losers, Roy has gained 6 on the start from the back of the grid. And then the biggest losers, Casper, losing 2. So the Haas cars, well, Mr. Steiner will not be particularly happy with the progress his Haas cars have made so far, but there's a long way to go in this one. So let's go back to the front then. It is the top 4. Schnitzel, Jarno, Michael and Lucas in the fight then for the race win here at Interlagos. We've only had 8 laps of this race so far, but it's been very, very fascinating so far. Always exciting racing here at this track, but it's going to absolutely come to life when this rain stops. But as I was talking about before, we saw Williams Roy diving down the inside of Lee Finley, was the fact that the 2 Renaults are in a slightly compromised position, because Schnitzel, if he decides to pit at the exact correct time in terms of the cutoff for the rain, then that's going to heavily compromise his teammate in the pit stop, because they'll have to double stack. So Jarno may have to take a gamble. He's got to try and judge the conditions better than his teammate. Try and, surprise his teammate, come in a lap early and get this all correct, because that may give him a chance for a massive undercut if it works out for him in terms of the conditions going to dry. And actually, speaking of which, someone is into the pit lane, and what is that for? That is Lee Finley coming in. Oh, it's for another set of inters. So that's a very early pit stop. Did he have a wing change or something like that? But that's a very early pit stop. The inters usually last a lot longer than that, and that's going to massively compromise him, because he'll have to pit again when, of course, the track dries out, which seemingly is going to be at some point. And it's finally poised, this battle for the top 4. Only 3 drivers can get on the podium, but all 4 of these drivers want to be a part of it, and in particular the top step. It is Renault, Williams, McLaren. Oh, and look at that! Jarno spins off! Oh, he went onto the power too early. Oh no, it's lag. Oh, game. I won't miss those sort of actions. But panic over. It legitimately looked like Jarno spun off there. That was unusual lag, which caught me off guard there. And meanwhile behind, Roy is going to overtake Casper to demote another hash down the order. So Roy back up to P5, but all that battling means he is still a long way down the order. But we're going to go straight back to the front. It's because the 2 Renaults going side by side into the end of Sector 1. And Jarno overtakes Schnitzel to take the lead of the race. There's no DRS, of course, at this stage of the race. So Jarno takes the lead. Was that team orders in place? It's Jarno, trying to help his teammate get that second place in the championship, because that looked quite easy. Be unusual to see legitimately Schnitzel just out-dragged down the straight, unless he got a horrible exit out of the center S's. But either way, Jarno leads the race, Michael just behind. But we'll see how Schnitzel drives over the next few laps to see whether that was, team orders, or whether he just made a mistake somewhere to allow Jarno to get past. But either way, the rain has stopped here in Brazil. And Schnitzel views his teammate. So still plenty of surface water, but you can see a clear, defined racing line beginning to develop as the tyres remove those thousands of cubic litres of water every second, making the track ever drier. The top 4 with a massive gap to the rest, 5.6 second gap to Roy behind. So in terms of the race victory, it looks like it's going to be between these 4. Well, I guess when Lucas watches back, he'll be wishing that spin from Jarno was legitimate, but it was unfortunately just lag. So Jarno carries on, surviving that little strange event, and he now leads this race. So Schnitzel going to try and hold up the likes of Michael. try and give his teammate a gap. In terms of the pit stop, looks like the cutoff is not far away between the inters and the dries, but who's going to gamble first? Still too wet for any sort of dry compound right now, and indeed, which tyre are they going to go on? Because we're still fairly early into the race, but if this lasts for a few more laps before having to pit, I think the mediums will go to the end from here. If they get to around lap 14, 15, that should be safe to go onto the mediums to the end, as long as they don't battle too hard. But if these four are all next to each other, one of these four drivers might get a puncture by the end of the race if they had to pit for mediums right now. Is there anything else going on behind? Well, let's have a look at Widgers. Widgers then looking for a move in the battle for P6. Widgers goes around the outside. There's 70 more grip on the track now. Can he get the move done? Casper's going to continue battle, and no, defends it superbly. Will that allow Stay Frosty to get a move on Widgers as well? We'll stay on board with the Sauber for a few more moments. Widgers goes for a late lunge. Oh, they're going to go side by side. Let's hope there's no contact. Oh, wheel banging a little bit. Hard but fair for the time being. Stay Frosty will be licking his lips at the possibility of gaining 2 places at this stage. Stay Frosty right behind. Oh, slight contact again from Casper Widgers. Widgers going very late on the brakes and actually getting it slowed down superbly round the outside, then the inside for the following corner. That's a superb overtake from Widgers there, because his car was almost out of control as he brakes into that initial stage of it. So Casper down to P7, so both McLarens now in the top 6. But really superb stuff in the midfield part of the top 10. So now is Casper going to fall victim maybe to Stay Frost as well, but we're going to focus our attention now on the battle for the lead. Just over a second gap now for Jarno. The track is getting ever drier. Still looks like there's too much surface water, so they'll be hoping that these tyres do stretch to around between lap 14 to 16, because that will then allow them to do 20 laps on the medians, which should be safe to do to the end of the race. But of course, the driver who can get those up to temperature quickly on what will still be a damp track when they do pit, that will be very key. So at the moment, Schnitzel dropping time to his teammate. So Jarno is in the prime position at the moment to get second place in the championship, which of course isn't particularly important compared to winning the championship, but it's still a bit of bragging rights between Jarno and Lucas up for grabs here. And so Lucas now getting a little bit closer to the back of Michael. Lucas, well, considering the battling he had to do early on, is showing pretty impressive pace to get onto the fight for the lead. And none of the top 4 have any penalties yet. Long way to go, and I may have cursed at least one of them by saying that. Here we go, heading for another lap, lap 14. Oh, some in the chat saying they're going to go for softs. That's an interesting one. I'll certainly give a pace bunch. And Williams Jimroy pits. So is that the first gamble for dry tyres? Let's have a look. No, is that Inters? It's been held. No, it's still Inters. So again, another driver who's struggling with tyre wear. So Roy coming out on the Inter tyres. So maybe the track's not drying as quickly, but if it dries out now, that Roy, all that good work he did with those overtakes would have been for nothing. Though he has come out, it looks like he's going to come out ahead of Lee Finley. Well, that's another driver. He may have heavily compromised his race, because he will have to pit again, which means the time he's lost now will simply be added on with that extra stop. 1.5 second gap then between the top 2. Lucas trying to get onto the bottom step of the podium, but he's having to go past, if he can, the driver who he battled so hard along with Roy for the championship last season, and indeed this season, until his championship challenge faded. Michael then peels off into the pits. Can he get the car slowed down? Very tricky pit entry here. Very easy to get a 5-second stop-go penalty. So is this going to be a dry compound? Here we go. What's it going to be? It's a set of Inters again. So I don't know if this is like a graphical glitch of some kind, if these are legitimate, because it just seems to me, these, it will be dry conditions soon, but this track isn't drying that quickly, is it? So Michael should get out ahead of Roy because there was a fairly hefty gap between the top 4 and Roy when he pitted it from P5. So Lucas then up to P3. So for the first time in this race, we have some gaps between all of those in the top 3. Now it looks like Michael very close to Alex. So this is a season 16 champion versus one of the veterans of the site, Alex, and Michael's going to dive down the inside and get back up to P8. So he's making good use of those fresh tyres. And if the track dries out now, then well, his chances of getting onto the podium will be all but gone. So he's probably going to be hoping that the rest of the top 3 will have to pit again at some point. But no, both Renault drivers carry on. Lucas does as well. And Casper, well, let's see. Any other pit stops here? But Stay Frosty right on the back of the Haas. Casper had a wonderful qualifying session, but it's not working out so well in the race. He's been losing place after place. Side by side they go into the opening corner. But Casper places the car beautifully to defend the position. But that may compromise his exit. And indeed it does. Massive snap of oversteer. And Stay Frosty's going to be right on him. And again, look how lively that rear end is, and Casper's not going to really have anything to defend with. Reaching the end of the life of those inters, and down the inside goes Stay Frosty up to P4, squeezing him slightly. And yeah, Casper just doesn't have the traction on the inters to fight it, struggling to keep the car in a straight line at the moment. Dramatic stuff from the Haas driver. And oh, yellow's in sector 2, and we have, oh, it's a retirement. A big crash for Hugh Golf. Just coming out of turn 5, must have gone onto the damp curbs and then spun it to the left. So that's our first retirement of the race. Will that bring out a safety car? Well, doesn't look like it. Looks like Bert Meinlander once again taking a long vacation, as he so often does on F1 2018. So no safety car here, but look how not visibly dry the track is, and I think this may be the time. Well, this is Jarno pitting from the lead. If he's got this wrong, then he's going to lose the lead of the race. So what's he going to go on? Is it going to be it's going to be the medium compound, so he's looking to go to the end of the race on that. And yeah, still lagging a little bit. So the top 2, Schnitzel and Lucas, carry on for an extra lap, but the DRS has not been activated yet. As Stay Frosty moves up to P3. So we'll see how quickly Jarno goes through the sectors. But I tell you what, this track looks pretty dry at the moment. And actually Lucas has dropped a fair amount of time to Schnitzel. And Michael's actually got out ahead of Jarno. But Michael's on the wrong tyre at the moment, but that's Jarno actually struggling to get the tyres up to temperature. So has he made a mistake? He looks like he's losing time to Alex behind. Track's still slightly damp. Look, Alex is under a second behind him and really catching him. And I think Jarno has made a critical error here. Slightly too early, but he was in the lead. He didn't have to make the gamble as Alex goes round the outside with ease. And then Schnitzel, well, he's surely going to respond and pit now, and Lucas will as well. No, he doesn't. What about Lucas? No, Lucas will respond. Oh, get him. Oh, he taps the wall on the right, and I think he chipped off a bit of his wing. Oh no. Lucas got that horribly wrong, the entry to the pit lane, and may have chipped off a little bit of his wing. And yeah, he's got to, and well, that's quick work from the pit crew to get the wing ready. They must have literally seen that, or even predicted it. Nostradamus among the McLaren pit crew. But that's a disastrous moment. But will he get out ahead of Jarno? I don't think he will with that wing change. It may not be catastrophic for Jarno still. But oh, if Lucas didn't have that wing change, he probably would have got out ahead of Jarno. But it's all going wrong for some of the contenders, and it's all playing beautifully into the hands of TRL Schnitzel. League finish still out there on the intermediates, and DRS is now enabled. So, well, this has worked out absolutely beautifully for the new champion. He's kept his cool, but he may have a substantial lead when he comes into pit. So mediums for Jarno, mediums for Lucas. It's quite a mix of tyre compounds now. Oh, Lee Finley's just overtaken Lucas. Lucas really struggling for grip still, even though the DRS has been enabled. But let's see what Schnitzel does. And Michael may have actually gained a lot of time, despite the fact he had to make an extra pit stop, but he's not going to have the time for the pit stop. And here we go then, still damp in the pit lane. Medium compound then for Schnitzel. doesn't get stuck. It's just a glitch. Alex pits as well, as does Roy. Oh, can he get it slowed down? Jarno heading through. And Schnitzel is already well out the pit lane. I still can't... Actually can't see Schnitzel actually. Oh, here he is. Oh yeah, oh my goodness. Look at the lead he's got. Because of Jarno. Oh my goodness. Nearly, is that over 10-second gap? Yeah, just over 10. Yeah, just now it's coming down again. But my goodness, what a difference that has made. Jarno and Lucas, for different reasons, having horrible times on the strategy. And Stay Frosty has actually moved up to P4 in among this, with Michael having to make an extra pit stop. And then Alex up to P6, Roy in P7, and Lee Finley has gone onto the soft compound. He's now in P8, and right behind them, Casper trying to battle the Force India to move up to P9. So lots of things going on here. Casper back up to P9, so the Haas is running in 8th and 9th at the moment. So Schnitzel, well, he's got the freshest tyres, he's got a near 9-second gap. And I doubt he's going to give up that advantage as he makes a big mistake, because in terms of the battle for second place, Jarno is in the position anyway to get that. So I think Schnitzel will be wanting to get a sick victory from 10 races, and he's in a superb position to do that. So see any battles developing. Let's have a look at VJA Lucas for McLaren. Jarno sitting in the fast lap of the race, but look at that. Lucas is a 1:15.109. Absolutely destroying that. So the battle for the final runners-up position placings in this league may be about to come to the fore. Jarno versus Lucas. Schnitzel is actually losing quite a bit of time at the moment. I wonder if he's just slowing down somewhat. Well, we will find out shortly. And Michael now onto the back of Stay Frosty. And Lucas 1.2 seconds behind Jarno. Let's see if we can get an epic battle to end this Apex Online Racing PS4 F1 era. As Widgers picks up a time penalty, which adds to his miserable race, which started so promisingly. That's well in the top 10, but now may not even score points. He's got a 10-second gap to Kieski, and doesn't even have the the advantage of any penalty for Kieski to rely on. So yeah, his chance of getting points very short now. Fast lap of the race goes to Schnitzel again, but that may be about to be blitzed again. Yes, it is. We are flying down on the times now. 1:11s now we're in. Let's look at Michael quickly, because Michael is right on the back of the Sauber of Stay Frosty, who's looking to equal his best result of the season. And Stay Frosty went really deep into the corner, and that's going to allow Michael to move back up to P4. But Michael's got to see if he can find some pace, but he's so far off now, having to make that extra pit stop. Head scratching at Williams why they did that. And Lee Finley on those softs. Well, if he can get them to the end, he'll have a significant pace advantage, at least for a while. So Michael up to P4 then. And we're going to focus our attention to Lucas. DRS is now enabled, so they will get the aid of that drag reduction system to give them some extra straight line speed when the wing flap opens on the rear of the car. He's just within DRS range ahead, so you can use this one to really close the gap onto Jarno. The gap to the leader is dropping significantly. Is Schnitzel slowing this down to try and have a freeway fight, or is it just legitimately not, his pace and drive isn't particularly strong? And now we're in the 110s, and 110, 167. It's like a second a lap faster every lap. This is absolutely astonishing. As Michael goes quicker as well. We're nearly in the 109s. I mean, not long ago we were languishing in the 1:18s and 17s when it was intermediate conditions, but now the pace of the race has just come to life. And now Roy, well, he's recovering from also having to make an extra pit stop as Lee Finley goes into 9s on the softs. I mean, I almost feel like everyone should go on to the super softs right at the end just to give us a bouncing race. And I tell you what, if we got a safety car at any stage towards the end of the race, that would really spice things up. But again, Schnitzel is dropping time. Just over 6 seconds. He had a nearly 10-second gap when the pit stops were all done. Well, Lucas must be absolutely kicking himself. If he hadn't have made that mistake, if he hadn't damaged his wing like that, as I think he did, he would be probably right on the back of Schnitzel right now, because he would have lost probably another 5 seconds replacing that wing. DRS opens. Let's get the telemetry up. There's so much going on, haven't actually had a chance, and the 109.962. Now let's have a look at Roy though, because that's the closest on-track battle at the moment. And I think Roy, the Belgian race winner, is going to make short work of the experienced Alex in the Red Bull. But Alex doing a fine job for Red Bull. I think that will seal Red Bull's position table and not be on the wooden spoon position, because Kieski's not doing enough for his team to avoid that position. With only 1 point for P10 at the moment, as it was a fairly comfortable overtake for Roy. Alex didn't really fight it. Alex may have Lee Finley for company very shortly. But credit to Shea Frosty, he's been overtaken by Michael, as we saw. But he's still hounding the back of that Williams. As Michael attempts to try and eat into the time of top three, but the top three on the podium may be set now in terms of the drivers battling for it. It's going to be simply a case of who's going to be on those positions. Looks like Schnitzel has calmed down a little bit and got those tyres up to temperature. Did pit a bit earlier, of course, because now he's stabilised the gap at 6.2 seconds. So our main battle. This is a straight fight for the runners-up spot, and I don't think Schnitzel is going to be able to interfere. 109.436. Track getting more and more drier, shaking off the last of that rain that was on it earlier on. So Jarno knows, simply put, if he finishes ahead of Lucas, he will be the championship runner-up. But if Lucas gets ahead, he will take that position. So, although it's not for a championship, this could turn into a very personal fight between two excellent drivers who know each other's strengths and weaknesses very well indeed. Skiski picks up a 3-second time penalty. So there's some decent looking battles shaping up on track, but this is the one we're going to be sticking for now. The laps are really flying by now. Now we're in these dry conditions. Around 70 seconds a lap here now at Interlagos in these full dry conditions. The umbrellas and ponchos are put away. The fans here are enjoying some fantastic action between the Renault of Jarno Opma and the McLaren of EGIA Lucas. The battle for P2 and the runners-up spot in the championship. As we end the Apex Online Racing era of F1 2018 in PS4 F1 in some style, as Lucas has half a look at the Renault, trying to fill the mirrors of the Renault, trying to force Opma into a mistake. But Opma's not going to fall for any shenanigans like that. It's going to take something a bit more clever than that to lose his position, but he's got defending to do. And because he's having to look at his rear mirror all the time, the pace of Jarno's definitely dropped, because he's now losing time to Schnitzel, who I will certainly think is going to run away and win this race comfortably. Now within 0.2 of a second, Lucas is. So he's really in that kill zone range. It's going to all come down to the setup and the exit from Junckau, where this battle is going to go. As Widgers picks up another time penalty. Well, I have covered him in other leagues, and him getting time penalties, well, they're like old friends. They invite each other around to their house quite a bit. So here comes Lucas out of Junckau. Did he get a good exit? Well, fairly similar exit speeds for both, so looks even, but once the DRS kicks in, as it will do now, to cross this white line, it's going to allow Lucas to get up ahead of him again. Schnitzel picks up a 3-second time penalty, so that adds an interesting connotation to proceedings, especially if Schnitzel were to get another one. That's the first penalty for the top three that we've seen. So Schnitzel must have made a mistake at the center S's, given the gap that he had. Gap sort of stabilizes, and Lucas not able to get right into the kill zone of Jarno to force an attempt at an overtake. Just biding his time at the moment. Has plenty of battery. As for Jarno, yep, he's managing his battery pretty well. But this particular track, not too difficult to manage battery. I mean, in qualifying, you can go literally full quali mode for the entire lap. You don't even have to make any adjustments. So pretty easy to recover battery at this particular track, so they shouldn't have any issues in that respect. But they are pushing hard, pushing so hard. They know that the slightest mistake in these closing 10 laps could prove absolutely significant in the battle for the runners-up spot, as Schnitzel continues to extend the gap, now nearly 8 seconds to Jarno. But again, Jarno was leading this race earlier on, and if he hadn't made that mistake with the strategy, who knows, he could well be in position to win another race this season. But now, the pit call from Renault was a little bit too early. And Lucas, well, he made the right decision along with Schnitzel to stay out longer than Jarno, but then he made an absolute meal of the pit entry, as you saw, chipped off a little bit of his wing and lost probably an extra 5 seconds in the pit lane. Which is why he's now stuck battling Jarno for P2, whereas he could potentially have been battling for the lead. Both of these drivers really should have been, but just didn't go for them in terms of the strategy. And of course, you know, damp pit entry being very costly for Lucas. So down the order, Michael still not able to shake off the Sauber, stay frosty. And Roy gradually edging away from Alex, and then Lee, Finley and Casper in P8 and P9. So Lee Finley looking good for another round. Now this looks much closer than the previous lap. Can Lucas get close to the Renault? Not enough to look for the inside into turn 1. Out of the center S as they go, and then onto the Curva de Sol. Turn 3. Now can Lucas get closer? Looks like he's got a slightly better exit. The DRS opens. Will Jarno feel the need to defend the inside? Not for the time being. So Lucas getting ever closer. And as they fly up for the Ferradura, he's going to try and go for a move round the outside of the Ferradura. That is audacious. Didn't even try there. There was slight contact. Jarno was not having any of that. But Lucas is really beginning to put Jarno under massive pressure. You do feel something's going to give at some point in these closing laps. And Schnitzel, well, obviously he's concentrating on his own driving, but if he could see this, he will have a grin from ear to ear over this battling, because this just makes his life that much easier to win this race. His 6th of the season it will be. So I take another sip of water as we head into the closing stages of this Brazilian Grand Prix, which, as ever, has delivered excellent entertainment. Lucas, look at the overspeed he's got. Is there a gap to the inside? No, he goes to the outside. But Jarno braking lately, but very compromises his entry and somehow gets away with it. Lucas not able to get onto the power but now climbs right onto the back. Jarno going very defensive. This is the battle for P2 in the championship and on track. Lucas, can he go around the outside? Oh, he's getting squeezed off. Oh, there's slight contact between two. Somehow keep it on the track. What a battle this is. He'll have the inside for Ferradura. And Lucas takes the lead with an absolutely brilliant manoeuvre. And somehow, some way, they did not have a huge crash. It was about as borderline as you can get. But Jarno, well, that is a big hammer blow. He's been knocked down. If this was a boxing contest, can he pick himself back up and get back into this fight for P2? Because at the moment, Lucas is taking the runners-up spot in the championship with this P2. So Lucas, he'll be looking to try and push to get out of the DRS, but getting out the DRS between two similar pace drivers is very difficult. And we're into the 108s now. We're just making a late pit stop, but he won't get a point for it. Of course, next season, of course, there will be an extra point. And look at the overspeed. Jarno's going to fly past Lucas for P2 once again. Well, that will be pretty disheartening for Lucas, seeing how easy it was for Jarno to regain P2. Well, I said this was starting to get personal. We're on lap 30 now, and these two are giving us a wonderful show to end this era of AOR PS4 F1. But that previous lap, I mean, Lucas was almost sideways through turn 5, and somehow they both kept the car straight, and it was a great manoeuvre to pull off. But Jarno, well, his car would explain why he's slow in sector 2, but his car on a straight line is absolutely rapid, and that's given Lucas such a thing to think about. So, you know, if that sort of speed, I'm really not sure how Lucas is going to overtake and maintain the position. Tyre wear will not be an issue whatsoever, so they're going to be able to push all the way to the end. Look, he doesn't have the same straight line speed as Jarno does. That is clear to see. But he's got much better aerodynamics through the corners, and that's what's making him able to follow so closely. So then 5 to go here at Interlagos. Schnitzel opening up the gap. It's a similar situation to Japan where he just had a comfortable gap by the end. Withers picks up another time penalty. Is he trying to beat some sort of record for the most time penalties here at Interlagos? I would not know or care what that record is, but we're just maybe close to it at this stage. and still isn't in the points, despite the fact there's only 12 drivers here. So that's just not works out for that McLaren driver. But the other McLaren driver of Lucas looks certain to finish on the podium at the moment. However, I say that, but look, all this battling between Jarno and Lucas has actually given Michael a chance of getting on the podium. He's now 3.3 seconds behind, and if these two keep battling like this, even Stay Frosty may have a shot at the podium. I think there's far too much of a gap for Roy to get involved, but watch out for Michael. He is eating into that time. Lap 32, Schnitzel starts. Lucas has more speed this time, but not close enough. Ooh, he'll have half a look at the inside, but yeah, he was never going to be close really to make a move there. And I have to say, Jarno does a superb job of the exit of the center S. It's a terrible view, and out of the curve of the Sol, he had so much more speed than Lucas. So Lucas has no chance of making a move done there. Roy picks up a time penalty, which may give Alex half a chance of getting P6. So there's two main battles going on. Stay Frosty, to his credit, has really given the former champion Michael something to think about. You know, I half expected Michael, once he passed him, just to sort of edge away in the way that Roy did on Alex, but no, Stay Frosty, one of his strongest races of the season. And both of them, and you just saw them in shot in the background, may have an outside chance still getting on the podium. So Lucas then, trying to gather his thoughts for a final assault on Jarno. What he'll probably have to try and do is try and get the move done, maybe even on the last lap, and then just, you know, try and gun it for the line. This could be a photo finish between these two. Yellow's in sector 1. What's happened in sector 1? Someone's gone off. That may have been Widgers, possibly. Let's have a look at Widgers for a minute. Someone has gone off in sector 1. Wasn't the race leader for a second. I thought it might have been, but it certainly wasn't. So I think Widgers has gone off. He's lost a chunk of time. Yeah, run wide at the end of sector 1 or something like that, or maybe even spun off at the chicane, a half spin. Either one of these drivers get a time penalty, then Michael may come onto the podium, because Michael, as we saw from season 16 in particular, was excellent at avoiding time penalties and getting big results. So Michael is certainly putting Lucas and Jarno under pressure in spirit, even if he's not physically putting him under pressure at the moment, because he's still fairly buoyant. We just saw a car in the background going wide, as we see a superb shot of them flying through Megulo and then onto Junkau again for the 33rd time. And we've got 3 laps to go then. Schnitzel starting lap 34 here and into Lagos. What twists and turns will we get? And Lee Finley has actually caught the back of Alex, so might get a quick view of that battle. But Lucas again having half a look, forcing Jarno to go very deep into corner. That may force his exit. Yeah, it's not a great exit for Jarno this time, out of the curve of the Sol. So this means Lucas is going to have half an attempt. Oh, looking for a gap. He's going to go late on the brakes. Who's going to get through here? Will he get squeezed out? Yeah, he'll get squeezed off slightly. They're flying through Ferradura and Carretera La Regina. What a battle this is. But good, solid defending from Jarno this time. Didn't give Lucas a chance on the outside, and then to get the inside for Ferradura, as we saw a few laps ago. This is all playing into the hands of Michael. Michael getting ever closer, 2.7, but I think he may run out of laps actually at the rate this is going. Probably needs another 5 laps to get right there. Because even with this battling, Jarno and Lucas are still lapping at a pretty decent pace. So penultimate lap then about to begin as Schnitzel crosses the line to start the 35th lap here at Interlagos. 2 more laps of the AOR F1 2018 season and indeed era to go. And we've been treated to a fabulous battle between 2 of the drivers who really defined the F1 2018 era in this tier. Jarno Ottmar and Lucas, who at times have stolen the show with fabulous performances, and today they are certainly the 2 main contenders to get that Driver of the Day award. And let us know in the comments section who your vote for the Driver of the Day will be. Hard to choose between these 2 given the battle they put on for us today. Historic qualifying Casper, of course, with that amazing run to P3, but he's in P9, so he hasn't really been able to convert it. So then 1.5 laps ago here at Interlagos. Schnitzel is about to start the final lap here. Our focus will continue on this battle for P2. Well, for those of you who nearly fell asleep watching the French Grand Prix, watching this right now, this is certainly made up for that in entertainment value. The last lap then of the AOR F1 2018 era for this tier has begun. Schnitzel crosses the line. Here comes Lucas, his final assault. It's now or never. This is the battle for P2 and Championship. We try and go around the outside for the center S's, but no, Jarno having the racing line just wasn't able. Stay Frosty picks up a time penalty, so that is P4 gone for Stay Frosty. Will Lucas go for a move down the inside? He may have to think about catching Jarno off surprise. Jarno runs slightly wide though. Fast lap of the race goes to Widges at 1:08. He's now 1 minute and 4 second behind, almost on the verge of being lapped, would you believe? May have been lapped already, in fact. And well, Schnitzel carries on. He's actually lost a chunk of time. In this last lap. So going for formation. Lucas dives to the inside. He's going. It's all or nothing. Where's Schnitzel now? Schnitzel on the final straight. Can Lucas get anywhere near? No, I don't think he can. And here comes Schnitzel. The season 17 champion ends the era on a high with a sick win of the season. And he's totaled the car. And here comes Jan Obma, who's going to take P2, and he will take the runners-up spot in the championship. Michael finishes in P4. Stay Frosty in a superb 5th for Sauber. Now let's see what else is going on. Roy will cross the line in P6. Alex, can he hold off Lee Finley? No, he doesn't. He's got a time penalty. So that is that for that one. Well, we'll go on board with Schnitzel's wrecked car, but he doesn't care. He'll have a short walk to the podium, won't he? He can just hop out of the car, go over the barrier and get to that podium. But Schnitzel, once again, getting everything spot on. And in the end, he wasn't really involved in any fighting at the end, with Lucas and Ofma stealing the show with a brilliant battle for P2 in the championship and on track. The final champagne celebration of the T1 F1 era on PS4. And well, those 3 drivers in particular, and the likes of Michael and Roy, who are not on the podium today, have really given us a fabulous era of Apex Online Racing, haven't they, in F1 2018. And I really can't wait for the next era. So here is your final result then of the final race of the season. It is Schnitzel, the season 17 champion, taking the victory by 3.5 seconds from his teammate Otmar. Another 1-2 for Renault. I mean, what a dominant season it's been from the French outfit. McLaren's Lucas finishes in P3, Michael in P4, Stay Frosty in 5th, Roy in 6th, Lee Finley in 7th, Alex in 8th, Casper in P9. And then the final point going to Keyski, but not enough, unfortunately, for Force India to avoid the dreaded wooden spoon. And then your only other finisher, Widgers, with 9 seconds of time penalties in P11. Then Hugolf was your only non-finisher for the Sauber team. Well, what a race. What an absolutely fantastic race it was here at Brazil today. And, you know, it's one of the best wheel-to-wheel battles we've seen all season between Jarno and Lucas, and they can be very proud of their efforts. And, well, that is it for your season. So I'm going to just say, well, a big thank you to the league directors, the league admins, who all work so hard to put all these leagues together, all the drivers that we've seen in this tier over the past 2 seasons. And then, of course, Ali Kidd, who was my main commentary partner in season 16 and parts of this season. And of course to you, the viewers, who have really contributed with your comments, and hopefully you have enjoyed all the action that we've had in the F1 2018 era. And well, that's it for this game, and that is it for Apex Online Racing, and we will return in F1 2019. Thanks for watching, and it's goodbye from Interlagos. See you next time.